what are your influences? It seems like you go a lot of places in your music, from funk to singer-songwriter slash rock pop in your solo music.
Yes, yes. Um, well, I those are all parts of me for sure. I grew up with I grew up surrounded by a lot of jazz and classical music from my parents.
Mhm.
Um, though I don't play either of those well. um, I didn't really get into didn't really come into my own with really loving music that I felt like it was my own until I heard Led Zeppelin and the Beatles. Um, I kind of grew up listening. I heard the Beatles when I was really young, and it was always in there. But then once I heard Zeppelin, I kind of freaked out when I was 12 listening to Zeppelin, and then I started kind of diving into that whole era of classic rock, and then I really got into the Beatles.
All right.
And so I'd say Zeppelin and the Beatles were kind of like what got me going in my own direction. And then I had a drum teacher who got me onto some really good records, and I had a friend of my dad's gave me a CD of the Meters, the very best of the
Yeah.
Meters, and that was like I just loved that. So there was a I'll tell you what my musical diet was every day after school. When I was playing drums, I'd come home and I'd play through uh Crash by Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah.
I'd play through the very best of the Meters. I'd play through the first or second Soul Live album, and then I would play through a Zeppelin album and a Beatles album. That was my like thing that I would play along with those records in headphones on the drums. I never really learned any of the parts specifically. I mean, just kind of like would play along with those records. So yeah, I think that kind of sums up a bit of my early influences. Were really rock and roll and funk. Um, I think I got into some of the more acoustic, folky, sort of country stuff a little later,
Hmm.
just by way of studying the craft of songwriting and starting to listen to some of the masters, and then really, you know, freaking out over that stuff too. So yeah, somewhere within all of that,
All right. Yeah. What keeps you motivated to keep making music?
That's a really good question, man. Hmm. I sort of have everyone that I know that does this at this point, I'm 32 years old, so if you're still doing it, and that's I don't even feel that that's old, but if you're still doing it, while your friends are having kids and
Hmm.
buying houses, not that you can't do that and be a musician, because you absolutely can, and I know a handful of people who are doing that and doing it really well, and they are my heroes. But the point I'm trying to make is if you're still if you're still getting up and thinking about it every day, then I sort of feel like you're probably stuck with this particular ambition towards discovery, self-discovery, self-expression. I kind of think of it more as self-discovery rather than self-expression, because I don't always know I mean, I don't know what I'm going to find when I open up my brain and my heart into songwriting. I just kind of show up to see what's there.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I guess I'm not sure if that answers it, but I feel like I have a compulsion to seek in that realm,
Okay.
whereas I don't have a compulsion to practice hitting a baseball anymore. I used to, I for some reason that went away, and the music thing has stuck, and more specifically, the pursuit of songs and singing has stuck. So yeah, I think that part of growing up is kind of one of the things you get, hopefully, when you as you progress in life is you sort of see what still makes you tick, and you don't really
Mhm.
know. Like when you're starting out, it's anyone's guess. I have a lot of interests, but as you get older, you sort of just you're sort of observing your inner force field, or your inner playing field of emotions, and it's just like some things are calling to you more than others.
Yeah.
So music is one of them, or it is the main one, really.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't see that going away anytime soon. I hope it never
Okay,
does.
great. What are your tips for people struggling and starting to become songwriters and performers?
Okay, good question. I kind of think, we all struggle. It's a good thing you said, though, struggling to become,
Mhm.
because that's what you're really doing. You're becoming over time. You don't get there. I heard an interview recently with Paul McCartney, like from maybe it was in the last 10 years, 15 years. It was on NPR. Might have even been a couple years ago.
Okay.
But point is, it's like Paul, you know, 50 years into his career. And they asked him how to write a song. And he was like, well, I don't really know how to do it. I mean, I did. And they kind of stopped the interview, like record scratch, like what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Paul McCartney doesn't know how to write a song? And he was like, no, no one does. If I knew how it, like what the process was, I would do it every time. But it's like it's a mystery to everyone. There's a great book called Songwriters on Songwriting, which is interviews of with a bunch of the greats, and that's a theme that keeps recurring. But nobody really knows where it comes from.
Mhm.
Um, what was the question? Oh,
How do
struggling to become.
yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I learned from listening to interviews with other songwriters is that everybody kept saying, like, you get better, you can get better at it. They'd be like, it's like anything else you do, it's just a muscle, and the more you do it, you get better. And that would be a big piece of advice I would have to say to other people who are struggling, as you say, to become songwriters and performers, is that you can't expect to be incredible at anything the first time you do it. You should feel like a bit of an inclination towards it, like maybe you have a shot if you really work at it. You might have a knack for it. Certainly it's good to have a knack for something. I'm not particularly drawn towards mathematics. I don't really, it's
Mhm.
just hard for me. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do math.
Yeah.
I like writing. Okay, cool. Not like I wasn't some kind of amazing writer as a kid, but I like to write.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, when I listen to my early songs, it's like, oh, that guy's got some talent, but he's not, he sounds like it's his first song he ever wrote. It's not good.
Mhm.
And I think we just keep progressing, and there's it sounds kind of lame or cliche or something, but there's really no destination. I have to say, the journey, is what it's
Yeah.
about, and I really admire people like Nick Lowe, Mike Viola, just to name a few, but people who are they just keep getting better in their career, like as they continue to get older. And Nick Lowe, I think maybe in his 70s. Mike is not nearly. Mike's in his 40s or something. But point is, you don't have to be 20, or 19 to do your best work. Most often, people improve with experience, and that makes a lot of sense. So that's really cool. It's different than sports in that way. I think songwriting, it's like you don't necessarily need to peak when you're 25 or 30. I think if you just keep working at it, you keep getting better. So if you're 15 and you're frustrated because you don't write Beatles songs yet, it's like
Mhm.
try to relax and keep it process focused, because you'll never write a Beatles song. Believe me, I struggle with that too. It's like, ugh, why can't I just write a Tom Petty song? But you're gonna write your song, and
Right.
so it's really a game kind of with yourself. Not that it's a battle. Maybe it is a bit of a battle sometimes, but it's a process. There's one of my favorite songwriters is a guy named Aaron Lee Tasjan, and he has this song called Success. And the chorus is, well, success ain't about being better than everyone else. It's about being better than yourself, which is a great lyric and a great point. So I ramble a lot. Maybe you noticed.
Yeah.
Here. What was the question? What's your
All right.
advice? Keep
Yeah.
doing it. Don't give up.
All
Basically, I
right.
mean, if you want to get better, the more you can make, you can let yourself. And I have to take my own advice too, because believe me, I trip out too, just like anyone else. But
Mhm.
the more you, uh, the more you keep it a process with no end, you can have little goals like I want to have an album, or I want to write a song by the end of the year, one song, or I want to write 10 songs, whatever the goal is. But just realize that you're going to keep progressing, and the more you can enjoy the process, I think, or the more you can make the process the goal, the better, because it's like pulling teeth sometimes.
Mhm.
All the masters have said that. If you watch the Tom Petty documentary, he talks about sitting down with a guitar and like playing, you know, G, C, D, like three chords just for 10 days, nothing comes of it all day or whatever. It's
Mhm.
like, it's not like every time these people sit down they hit a bullseye, but if you sit down 10,000 times, you might hit a bullseye.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's what it's about.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
You're
Uh.
welcome. I'll try to be concise, but it's
Okay.
not my strong suit.
What was your music career like in high school?
Career. Nice. Um, that's a flattering word for high school. I appreciate it. Uh, you mean like what kind of musical activities did I
Mhm.
have?
Yeah. Like, did you participate in your choir? Or did you do the musical? Or
Oh yeah, yeah, good call. Okay. I was in choir. I was in also like a all male select ensemble called the Kinsmen
okay.
in my high school, Manhasset High School, Long Island, baby, North Shore. Um, and I was a tenor,
Okay.
duh. And yeah, so I was in choir. I was in the male vocal ensemble. That was not like, I mean, it was a cappella, but it wasn't an a cappella group. It was more like a chamber ensemble in terms of the repertoire.
Mhm.
And really, really great teacher we had, Mark von Schenkoff, an amazing teacher. And then I was also in the wind ensemble, which was kind of like the band, but the sort of, I don't know, bigger version of it. Like it would be like the orchestra, but not just for strings. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We called that the wind ensemble, and that was I played percussion in that. So I played percussion in the wind ensemble. I played drums in the drum line, snare drum for a
Mhm.
second there, a couple years. I marched for one season. I really did not like it. Um, I did not like marching. I liked playing drums. I did not like marching. So I only had one season of marching band, but I had a couple years of drumline. So let's see: drumline, percussion in the wind ensemble, drum set in the jazz band, and then singing. And then I played guitar and wrote songs in my high school band outside of school. So I
Okay.
kind of always did drums in school, and then I kind of and singing in school, and then I did kind of the guitar thing on my own
Okay. Cool.
with no supervision.
Uh, when did you feel like you started writing like professional, real songs, or if you feel that way at all?
Good question. Good question. If I feel that way at all. Yeah, I do now. I do now. I feel like on my first album I wrote a couple, and I then on Heartbreak Hits I think I wrote 10. I think the whole album is that.
Okay.
I'm really proud of the first album too, but I can hear some of the ways some of the songs feel a little younger to me. Um, in terms of my development, I just not that they, I don't know that they would to anyone else, but they certainly are younger to me because I was younger and I had been around for fewer years and I had heard fewer records. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, um, but I feel pretty good about all of it in terms of it was all professional. It was the best I could do at the time. So that's kind of what I aim for is like if you can finish an album and be like, yeah, I couldn't have done any better. Even if you feel kind of bummed about that fact, it's kind of a good feeling. It's like, shoot, man, that's the freaking best I can do. Like, darn, wish I could be
Yeah.
better, but that's as good as I am. That's a good feeling because it means you did your best. I mean,
Mhm.
that's all you got. I mean,
Yeah.
like if you literally, if you can do your best and that's literally all you got, then great, job well done. You know, it's the best you could do. Good
Yeah.
feeling.
Okay. What's your average writing process like when it's for Theo Katzman?
Um, well, I don't have a specific like thing. I don't have a specific way in, you know. I try to find an entry point. Sometimes it's on a guitar, sometimes it's on a piano, sometimes it's not on an instrument at all and it's a lyric.
Yeah.
I usually get a lyric and melody kind of together at the same time will pop into my head and sometimes I just go, what key is this in? You know, and then I sit down and I find what key it's in and then I keep writing it on an instrument and you know, other times I don't write it on an instrument at all. So I guess I don't have a good way of saying this is what my process is, but I can tell you that I definitely need to have my phone off. I definitely need to have no distractions. I need to have a runway of probably 3 to 4 hours of uninterrupted focus if I'm going to get anything meaningful done. And it'd be better if I had like 6 hours, you know? And
Hmm.
sometimes it takes weeks. Sometimes it takes an hour. There's songs on my new album that I wrote. Some of them were written in one session, and others, you know, one of them I wrote in 2013, but I felt like it wasn't done, and then I finished it, and it felt relevant again, and it was like, wow, you know, that's the only one that's that old. But yeah, there's stuff that some things take years, some things take a day, others things take 4 days. You know, it just depends.
Okay. Um, okay. What are your thoughts on the music like industry and how have you navigated, so to say?
Hmm. I'm not sure the biggest fan of the music industry. Uh, TBH.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I mean, I used to be interested in the music industry, but yeah, I'm not sure what changed. It just seemed like anytime I try to convince anyone that something was cool or worthwhile, it didn't seem like anyone cared. Um, and then once I stopped trying to do that and just made music for myself and for my friends, it just real people started to care, not just people with jobs in the business. So, and then the funny thing is, then once enough people start to care, once enough real people start to care, aka fans, you know, then the people in the business start to care.
Yeah.
So that's really the way it works. I mean, maybe there's another way it works. I don't know the other way it works. I think it's a riskier proposition to try to get a bunch of investors to give you a bunch of money for your big idea in music
Mhm.
early on and hope that it works out because it's not Kleenex, it's not a washer, it's not like a product that is specific in those ways. It's art, you know, so it's hard to wrangle it into form and no one really knows what it's going to turn into. So it's a big bet to place from an outside perspective. If I were a label, I don't really know how I would pick an artist necessarily. So the internet has really been great for everyone, including the labels, because they can just see what's popular and then they can send you an email.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I don't have much of an opinion on the music industry. I mean, other than I think that the streaming services could do a much better job of being transparent with how they pay artists.
Mhm.
Um, I would like to see someone innovate in that space. I think that artists could be making a lot more money on the streaming services than they are.
Mhm.
Uh, and the reason that they're making what they are making, as far as I understand, is because the labels got in early enough with the streaming services to become shareholders in the companies themselves, thereby getting a lot of the profit right off the top from the users that are generating the revenue. So anyway, I think that that could be innovated on. But yeah, basically, I'm here to, you know, try to go direct to consumer as much as possible. And Wolfpack has certainly blazed the trail, and now I'm trying to learn from that and kind of follow along the same principles, which is like make your music, get it to your fans, develop a following if you can, and then, you know, sell tickets and sell records as much as you can and keep making good music.
All right. Cool. Thank you.